if we could address you directly right now.
Everything comes full circle.
That's number one.
I don't tell him what questions to ask me.
There are a lot of people around town that have the same question.
Brush my teeth. I'm a good wash in the morning.
I can't confirm or deny.
You know, just keep going a little bit longer here, Mike. Keep going a little bit longer.
Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7 and on Twitch at QSportsTalk.com. My name is Cedric Derecho, and I'm here with Teddy Caputo and Jack Ziskin. Teddy and Jack, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm really excited for the show.
Yeah, we really lucked out with what's coming up today.
You know what? We were talking before the show started, guys, and we were calling this a perfect show because this is just a perfect storm. You know, you've got the big game tonight with Syracuse and Duke, which is what we're going to start with later on. Don't miss out. We have our Super Bowl preview, as well as all the madness going on at the NBA trade deadline. We'll end with a little bit of Syracuse lacrosse. So going with that Syracuse and Duke game tonight, number 2 in the country, generational talent coming to the Dome again.
Oh, yeah.
Cooper Flagg.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really exciting. Duke is very good. It's no secret. They've won 15 straight, and they are scoring over 80 points a game. Cooper Flagg accounting for a quarter of the team's points. This is a generational talent. I think the Dome is going to be hopping tonight. I know that there hasn't been as much attendance, but I wouldn't be surprised if the house is packed.
Not as much attendance for Syracuse is very different than not as much attendance at other schools. You know, that is part of it. I mean, if they can continue hitting threes and continue hitting foul shots like they did against Cal, I'm not going to say I like our chances. You're going up against Cooper Flagg, but you got to feel a lot better about it.
Yeah. I mean, the key is aggression. Syracuse plays the best when they're aggressive. They got to be aggressive tonight. I mean, this is a game they have only a 7% chance of winning, so they should just put it all out there. No stone unturned. Just be as aggressive as you can be. And I'm pretty sure they started going back a little bit to the 2-3 zone against Cal. They were playing around with that. So, honestly, why not try that? Maybe mix it up. Cooper Flagg, I'm not sure if he's seen much of the 2-3 zone this year, so that might be something to throw at Duke's way tonight.
You know, the spread is set at 17.5, and maybe I'm being optimistic, but at the very least, I do think Syracuse covers the spread. You know, they have been able to keep it close at home. The past few games, close loss to Pitt. Last time out they had their opportunities. Every time, Syracuse hit a big shot, Pitt just hit a bigger one.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Syracuse, though they have gone down big in certain games, they've been able to keep them close. Like, I know we're going to talk more about their recent game against Stanford, but they were down by 22 points early on, and they were able to cut it to a 6-point game towards the end. So they can hang in there, even in the games that are not likely they're going to win based on their early game performance. So, yeah, I definitely think this very well could be a close one, closer than people may think, but we'll have to see. It is number 2 Duke. So,
yeah, Teddy, you're absolutely right. I think the resilience is great. I think the consistency could be a little bit better. But,
yeah.
At the end of the day, you're right. They were down 22-2 at one point. Now, I would argue that shouldn't happen. I think most people would. But they did come back and make it a game. There's something to be said for that. They beat Cal on the road, which is a huge win.
Yeah.
And, you look at the schedule, you look at the upcoming ACC tournament. Wins against BC, Miami, that'll give you a pretty good shot to get in. Those are really the 2 on the schedule you got to circle.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, let me just say this really quick. I think this SU team is, obviously they're struggling this year, but I think they're starting to find their moxie a little bit and their style, especially with that win against Cal. They really discovered at the end of that Stanford game what wasn't what wasn't working and what was working, and then they implemented what was working against Cal. And so I think if they continue that against Duke, they could have a shot. And let me just say this for those that are watching. If Syracuse beats Duke, this might be a hot take, but if Syracuse beats Duke, that could give them a lot of confidence going into the remainder of their schedule. They've played 4 of the 5 bottom teams in the ACC to finish out. 3 of those games are at home. I could see Syracuse, if they win against Duke tonight at home, that giving them the confidence to run the table. Of course, I think the biggest challenge other than Duke is SMU because they're quite an exceptional team. But I think Syracuse can beat anybody else on their schedule going forward. So that is my bold prediction for Syracuse.
I'll tell you what, though, that's a big if. That's a big if, beating Duke.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, though, that's worthy of a court storming.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I believe it. So what are your thoughts, Cedric? Let's hear what you think about this game tonight. Do you think SU's got a shot?
I think it's tough for me to go out on a limb and say they're going to win the game. I am confident that they can cover the spread. I do think that they can hang around with this Duke team. It'll be interesting to see that matchup. Eddie Lampkin trying to limit and stop Cooper Flagg. Will he be able to do it? I'm not so sure. I mean, he had 23 rebounds in the Pitt game. You know what? So, if Syracuse is at home, I think they hang in there. Whether they win or not, huge if.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why 2-3 zone is a good option against Duke. Maybe you have 2 people crashing in on Cooper Flagg when he has the ball in the paint and make Duke beat you from 3.
Well, I do think we should stop talking about covering the spread like it's that good a thing. It's a pretty wide spread, And the good news is that, the remainder of their schedule, it's not that good. They're playing, like you said, 4 of the 5 bottom teams. I just listed the first 2 of that group that comes up after this. I mean, if you're going to beat Duke, though, you're absolutely right about the 2-3. You're absolutely right about the rebounds. I think the question for me is, you only take 16 threes against Cal. Now, you hit 8 of them. That's great. On the other hand, you gave up 35, and Cal only sank 6 of them. I don't care how good you're playing defensively. There's no way that you forced a team to miss that many threes.
Yeah.
17%. That's not just good defense. That's also bad offense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think Duke's offense is that bad. But let me tell you, they definitely will. Like, Cooper Flagg could have a field day. Like, if he is given the opportunity to play the game that he plays in the paint, they're going to have a field day. Make them beat you from outside. But another key to this game is honestly, the half-court offense for Syracuse. We tend to try to force it inside to Eddie Lampkin in the post, which I don't think is going to work. And when Syracuse turns the ball over, their transition defense is not the greatest. So if Duke can get on transition, it's going to be hard to stop them.
And Duke has has a big boy manning center too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
another question to be asked this season is, will Donnie Freeman play again this year? Do you guys think so?
I mean, I guess there's been some speculation from some fans that he's, not coming back as early as he could. But let me just say this, I don't see why not. I mean, again, you have to be in the bottom 4, if I'm correct, or the bottom 3 to miss
out on the ACC
tournament. Yeah. And I mean, Syracuse's schedule has them lined up to make a late season run, kind of like an NC State that we saw last year. And so as his team is starting to gel, Donnie Freeman was playing well when he was on the court. I don't see why he wouldn't play again this year if he can, because of that late season stretch. So I really hope so. I mean, if he's healthy and able to go, I think we'll see him back on the court.
Yeah, I agree. And, there's nothing to be gained for him, especially if he wanted to enter the draft, which, I said it when we were last on. I'll say it again. I'm not convinced he's going to the draft.
No.
I think it makes the most sense for him to stay here next season. But, Duke has talent. I mean, I mentioned the fact that they have an absolute monster at center. Kaman Maluach. That is the pronunciation I'm reading off the Duke website because I was that terrified of getting it wrong. I still didn't do the best job, I'm sure. But here's the thing. This Duke roster, it's not just, Cooper Flagg. They got a lot of talent.
Yeah.
Of course they do.
You got to make, and this is just my opinion, I think we've seen it in the NBA. We see it all the time. Make Cooper Flagg beat you on his own.
Yeah.
Don't try and stop Cooper Flagg, it will not work. He is going to have a day, going to have a night, no matter what Syracuse throws at him. What can you do to limit the guys around him?
You know, the good thing, though, is that they are coming into this game with a little bit of momentum, coming off that big win against Cal. I would say that a 1-1 West Coast split is successful for this team. I think there were a lot of fears by a lot of the fans that they wouldn't come away with a win in either of those contests.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think it is successful, especially the way they battled back against Stanford. Obviously, they went down super early, but they fought. They really fought. And it's that toughness that Red Autry was talking about in the win against Notre Dame that they need to identify with. And I think that is the way they beat Duke tonight, if they beat Duke, is they just got to be pesky. Like, anytime Cooper Flagg touches the ball, like, get on him. Because if you let him go free range, like Jack said, he's going to have a day. So, by the way, what did you think about Donnie Freeman? Do you think he's coming back this year?
I think if Syracuse is in contention for that ACC tournament, I think, I think they do play him.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it also makes sense for him to come back next year, especially with Cayenne Anthony coming here.
Yeah.
That'd be an interesting team to watch if they could keep it together.
Yeah, I think it would be a little bit much for him to try to push to the NBA with that stretch of games that he's missed. And plus, they're going to have a good roster next year. I mean, only 3 guys are possibly going to leave. It's J.J. Starling and Chris Bell. But, otherwise, everybody's coming. Oh, and Eddie Lampkin, excuse me. But everybody else is coming back. So this would be a good opportunity for him to stay, gel with the team, and see where they can go next year.
Well, I think the three-point shooting has to be near perfect tonight for them to keep up. I really do. You know what? You said they shot, 50% last game, Jack?
They only took 16 attempts, so that is key.
You're going to need to take 30 attempts, and you're going to have to hit at least 13, 14 of those, to hang tough with Duke, and I think they're capable of doing it.
I don't think you're taking 30 attempts, not if you have Jair Davis and Eddie Lampkin Jr. on the court. No disrespect to them. They're not guys who are going to stretch the floor. If you want to win this game, you got to stop Knipple, another potential lottery pick on Duke, from hitting threes. You have to limit Tyrese Proctor. You have to limit Maluch. They're 7'2" center with a 9'8" wingspan, like video game numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And there's other guys on this roster, whether you're talking about Zion James or Isaiah Evans, and a familiar face returning too in Malik Brown.
Well, hopefully Chris Bell, Lucas Taylor, Elijah Moore, J.J. Starling can get their 3-point shots going tonight.
They're going to need it. One thing we know for sure, Syracuse is going to have their hands full tonight. After this short 4-minute break, we'll be back with our NFL Super Bowl preview. You're listening to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7. Watch us on Twitch at qsportstalk.com.
Cool. Guys, we got 18 people watching, and we got a lot of comments, I think, right now. I don't know if these are from before. I can't tell when they started.
They're not.
Some of them are from our show. We were doing what would the headline be in the paper?
They're definitely comments from Infante, 100%. By the way, I really do mean it. You can't stop Flagg. You got to focus on stopping everybody around him.
Yeah, but still, I feel like if you actually, as soon as he touches the ball, you harass the guy.
So you want to foul?
Well, I'm just saying, SU's got to do whatever they need to do to win this game, because they are only a 7% chance odds to win the game. So, just take risks. Why not?
So sweep the leg.
No, don't be dirty, but
that's the risk though when you go up against a guy like Flagg though. He's gonna draw fouls.
Yeah, well, no, what it is you put a body on him, and then your second guy just swipes for the ball, and that's why I think the zone could be effective. And you are giving up the 3-point shot, but
it's also the shot that keeps you in it, just the math.
That's true, but if Duke beats us by threes instead of by Cooper Flagg, then so be it. That's just...
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
You're right about that.
So, what do you guys think in the chat? Let's hear what your thoughts are about tonight's game, about SU, the outlook for their season. Do you think SU could go on this big run at the end of the season if they have success against Duke tonight? Even if it's not a win, but single-digit score. Single-digit margin of defeat, even. What do you guys think? Let's hear it.
I'll tell you what, I've seen crazier things. I was there witness when an unheralded Rutgers team beat the number 1 team in the country, Purdue, and they were 15, 16-point favorites, and the whole crowd stormed the court. Ron Harper Jr. from half court. That's a game I'll never forget. So you know what? It would be cool to see one of those iconic moments here at the Dome. See what that's like in Syracuse.
I mean, Duke has won 15 straight. I mean, they're a great team, but they may have to lose one at some point. And who knows? Coming to the Dome, they're 93% favorites to win this game. They could be caught off guard, especially if SU is pesky and aggressive. But we got a couple of comments here I'll read for you guys. This one's from Tucci only. The thing to watch is who will defend Flag and who will defend Mawalachi, like you said, Jack. That's the thing.
Well, it's going to be Davis on Flag if he's the starter.
Yeah,
that's
and
your 4.
That's exactly what Tucci just said. It's going to be Davis.
Great
and then
minds.
Malawachi, the big guy, is probably going to be Lampkin. You could put McLeod in there, but,
You might have to at times. I think, they're going to have to go. They got a lot of good depth production against Cal. I mean, obviously, you go a little bit deeper in your bench when
but you need Lampkin to hang around the paint just to secure rebounding. He's capable of it. He had 23 against Pitt.
I mean, McLeod should be able to get you some decent minutes in relief.
Yeah,
he's definitely got the talent for that. We just haven't seen it this year. They've kind of been plagued by injuries though, and I can't believe we didn't get enough time to talk about Malik Brown returning. Grass isn't always greener, eh?
We'll talk about it right now. We got a minute or two.
I mean, look, he'd be playing a bigger role here. I mean, I don't know if I said it last week, but I mean, you can leave college. You're not necessarily going to be happier. I don't know that Judah Mintz right now is going to be that much happier playing in the G League. That's just, and I wonder if there was some sort of NIL money they could have offered to keep him. In Brown's case, he transferred to a better team, so it wasn't entirely about playing time. I think he's getting less this year.
Well, SU has had some NIL money, or at least access to it, that has been cut off, and that's not a story for here, but
I know what you're referencing.
Yeah.
We all know.
But the whole point is you're right. Maybe it would have been better for Judah Mintz to stick around. How many more years did he have? Was he only
2?
Yeah, so he could have.
Yeah.
But SU woohoo, by the way, just before we go back, he said Cuse's toast, burnt rye toast with no butter. Ooh. Hey, have some hope there, SU woohoo. Come on.
100.1. Watch live on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7 and on QSportsTalk.com. This hour of Newhouse Afternoon is powered by Drivers Village Cicero. Go to dvoffers.com for more info. Guys, Super Bowl 59. If you're listening from the comfort of your home, you should go on QSportsTalk.com because I am repping the Birds right now. I got my Jalen Hurts jersey on. I am confident. You know what? Super Bowl preview, guys. Can the Chiefs stop Saquon Barkley? My bet is no.
Just before we get to that question, I do want you to know that if you do log on and see Cedric in his Eagles jersey, he's absolutely your stereotypical Philadelphia sports fan. So it's going to explain a lot for you.
Mm-hmm.
That might be a little sarcasm.
That's not even remotely true, but
no,
okay.
It's not remotely true. You seemed a little nervous, so I made sure to add it with sarcasm.
Okay. He's wearing the jersey just so you know that he's not rooting for the Chiefs. I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, he's Eagles through and through. And actually, I'm Eagles through and through as well. I do think that, the Chiefs are the Chiefs. They have a very good chance. Andy Reid's been here, done that. Same with Mahomes and Kelsey. But they have an exceptional talent on the other side of the field of Philadelphia, Saquon Barkley. I think the game comes down to him, to be quite frank. That guy is amazing. He's electric. And if the Chiefs can't stop him, I don't think they can stop the Eagles. The game is going to have, for the Chiefs on the defensive side, they're going to have to make Jalen Hurts beat him in the air. He's a good passer. Their passing got better in that last game against Washington, but Saquon is hard to stop. So if you do stop him and you make Jalen have to drop back and pass, that Chiefs defensive line, their pass rush is pretty darn good. So the Eagles are going to have to figure out a way to work around that.
Well, don't rule out the use of Jalen Hurts' legs in this one. If they all sell out on stopping Saquon Barkley, not only does that open things up for A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, but it also opens up for Hurts to run. He hasn't done so much, coming off of those ankle injuries, this year and last year. We've been seeing less long runs from him, but hey, look at how he opened the Rams game.
That's true.
44 rushing yard for the score. I think it's possible we see, a breakout play like that if they sell out on stopping Saquon. You know what? We know that the Chiefs are great, but we've seen the Eagles, beat greatness before.
Yeah.
Greatest dynasty in football history, bar none, the New England Patriots. 41-33. Eagles fans will not forget that game. So, we've seen the Eagles overcome a dynasty before, and I think it's very possible they do it again. And in fact, I think they will.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point. I think, we mentioned Andy Reid having been here before, winning a few championships, obviously. I mean, I feel like lost in the fray of all the people complaining that the officials are rigging these games for the Chiefs like it's some sort of massive conspiracy. Lost in the fray is the fact that Reid's going up against his old team.
Yeah.
And,
well, he said it before 2 years ago.
For the second time.
Second time, that's true. So maybe the novelty's worn off a little bit. But I will say this, you mentioned Reid, you mentioned coaching. If you want to talk about coaching, we got to talk about Jeff Stoutland, and we got to talk about Kellen Moore, the offensive line coach and the offensive coordinator for the Eagles, respectively. Stoutland's done a great job with that unit, has for years. And in Moore's case, this is probably his last game as an offensive coordinator before he takes the Saints job, which is rumored. And you got to imagine that going into a team that's going to be in probably a longer rebuild, he's going to want a little bit more cachet. So putting Super Bowl champion next to his name might help him out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I will say this, another big factor to this game is the Philadelphia Eagles have a plus 10 turnover differential in the playoffs. The Chiefs, -1. So the Eagles' defense is going to be big in this game, too. They got to force some turnovers and give their offense more chances to be on the field because we know Patrick Mahomes, come playoff time, come the biggest stage of the football season, can really make some lights-out plays. But the Eagles' defense, it's going to be a game in the trenches, and the defensive trenches are going to be very important for them. Jalen Carter and the other boys, just those dogs, Georgia Dogs, get into Patrick Mahomes. If you put pressure on him, it's looking good for Philly.
That reminds me of that Howie Roseman clip of him drafting all those Georgia Bulldogs. He's like, I'm a Florida Gator. This hurts me in my soul. And I think it was, I forget who it was, but they're like, but you want to win. He's like, you're absolutely right. And if they're going to win, you're right. It starts in the trenches. It starts with Jalen Carter. And it starts with him bringing the same energy he did against Washington. And yeah, I'm going to reference the, open hand blow to the helmet that he had against Tyler Biadasz. Because, while it wasn't necessarily something you want to see them repeat against the Chiefs, I'm sure the conspiracy crowd definitely doesn't want to see it. But all jokes aside, they're going to need that. They're going to need that intensity. If the Eagles are going to win, they have to break through this vaunted Chiefs interior offensive line because we know they can beat them along the edge. But they've been able to mask that because of how good that Joe Thuney, Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey unit is.
You know what? I think Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs offense is turning it on exactly like we thought they would. They haven't been impressive all year long. Since week 5, Vic Fangio's defense has been impressive all year long. And so you would figure the Eagles have the matchup advantage there. I think the Eagles defense is much better than the Chiefs offense. But you know what? Great teams know how to win close games, and nobody does it better than Kansas City, 17 straight.
Yeah, I just think that the key to this game, really when it comes down to it, is keeping that Chiefs offense off of the field, which is why you got to make sure you establish the run with Saquon Barkley, even getting Jalen Hurts involved with his legs. And once you get that running game involved, play action all day. It'll be a nightmare to try to stop that, but you got to establish the ground game, run some time off that clock.
Well, let's not forget what happened 2 years ago. Jalen Hurts was the best player on that field.
Yeah.
It was the defense that led up 38 points to Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
Granted, he had the big fumble in the fourth quarter, so obviously will come down to turnovers. Eagles have been winning the turnover battle all playoffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big caveat to add on there when you say he was the best player on the field. But, Hurts did have a great game 2 years ago. He wasn't the reason they lost. There's a lot of guys on this Eagles roster with something to play for. A lot of guys entering contract years. And, I'm not saying that's the main motivator, but, it gives you a little bit of extra juice. Milton Williams wants to get the bag. Josh Sweat wants to get the bag at least one more time in his career. And then you also have the emotional element of, this is Brandon Graham's last ride from what we've heard.
Yeah. What's interesting is that...
This could be Travis Kelce's too.
Yeah.
No, he denied that.
And it's interesting because, the Eagles got to force turnovers from the Chiefs, but they also got to protect the ball. The Eagles are one of only four teams, and I guess the first rounders don't count, but they haven't given up any turnovers in the playoffs. They have not given the ball away, other than the Buffalo Bills are the only other team, and the Chiefs haven't taken the ball away from anybody. So that's also key too. The Eagles got to protect the football in this game.
Takeaways are nice, stops are better, and the Chiefs get stops when it matters most. Now, you might argue that they didn't get one of those stops. I know there's some Syracuse alum like Adam Shine that definitely feel like they didn't get that stop in that game and think Buffalo should still be playing. But nonetheless, it's the Eagles versus the Chiefs, deja vu all over again.
Right, but as we've seen, you're absolutely right. But as we've seen in the playoffs too, that turnovers are key. When you have momentum on a drive and then boom, ball comes out. We saw that in the Ravens-Bills game with Mark Andrews. So turnovers are going to be key in this game, and the Eagles got to protect the football. They've been doing a pretty good job at it.
Well, I'll tell you what. If the Eagles played 60% of the game they did against the Washington Commanders, they're going to win this game. They're going to win this game. 55 points. Are you kidding me? It could have been 59.
That was against the Commanders.
That was against the Commanders that just came off a win against number one seed in Detroit by 14 points.
I said it 2 weeks ago.
They lost command of the game.
They did lose command.
Early.
That's a great dad joke. But here's the thing about Washington. That team was assembled on the fly. They had how many one-year contracts on their defense? Dante Fowler Jr. was getting legitimate snaps, and no disrespect to him. He's on the tail end of his career. I don't think anybody would deny that. The offensive line Washington has isn't great. So if your standard for what great football looks like is how you play against the Washington Commanders, Jaden Daniels is a bowler. But that Washington roster, they're nowhere near Super Bowl contention. Now, they made a run to the NFC Championship, but there's a lot of teams that have made a run to a championship game. Blake Bortles made a run to the championship game. Mark Sanchez made a run to the championship game. Now, Jaden Daniels is, way better than these guys. But the difference is usually we see great teams with mediocre quarterbacks make that run. This time we saw a great quarterback with a mediocre team, so I don't think that can be the standard.
Yeah, but let's not forget the formula to beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. And, we saw Tom Brady and the Bucs do it, 3-4 years ago now? So it's going to be the Chiefs D-line. It's going to be whether or not the Eagles O-line can protect Jalen Hurts, which I think they will, and can they create that separation for Saquon Barkley to have a breakout run or two? That's one. Two, and the more important here, is the Eagles D-line and all those Georgia dogs against the Chiefs O-line. Now remember what the Bucs defense did to Patrick Mahomes. They terrorized him all night in that Super Bowl. Terrorized him all night. Can the Eagles force 3 or more sacks on Patrick Mahomes? If they do, they win this game.
Yeah, I think if you're thinking conventionally, that's true. But if you're thinking about the fact that you're playing Patrick Mahomes, I don't think 3 sacks is a guarantee of a win. I don't think there's any stat that's going to guarantee a win unless, look, he wins ugly games all the time in the regular season.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to play his best football the entire game to win because that's how good this team is. And, stats in some cases are for losers. Patrick Mahomes is not a loser. All he does is win football games. I don't think the guy's ever lost in the divisional round or the wild card round. He's made it to the conference championship game every year as a starter. I find it hard to believe that 3 sacks on Patrick Mahomes is enough to guarantee a win. That just seems that seems like an overstatement.
Well, I'll tell you what, if it's a close game going into the fourth quarter, the Chiefs are going to win the game. They're uncanny at winning close games. We saw it. All the Philadelphia fans are still reeling from the heartbreak of 2 years ago. So I think the Eagles have to get out to an early start. I think that by the end of the third quarter, you got to be up in front double digits. If it's a 1-touchdown game or less, going into that fourth quarter, I'm definitely worrying as an Eagles fan. But, I don't think the Eagles just win. I think they win by more than 2 scores. I wouldn't be surprised if they win this one by 17 or more. Bold take. Really bold take.
That is a very bold take. Holy moly. But let me say this. The Rams led the playoffs with 16 sacks, and most of them came in the first 2 games. Two games?
Well,
No,
two games.
No, they only did play 2 games. So they did get to Jalen Hurts. But with that being said, Eagles ran for over 250 rushing yards, I believe, in that game. So that's the key, is got to get Saquon going, but definitely protect the quarterback.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. And just a reminder for all of you at home, Cedric Derecho is wearing his Eagles jersey very proudly. And it's actually, it's such a strong color, you can actually hear it over the air if you listen closely.
I'll tell you what, I might just have to call out early for that Super Bowl parade because it's happening, guys. The people in Philly are confident, and I'm saying it proudly over the air because I think it's going to happen.
You're making it hard to root for you.
Hey,
I'm liking the confidence. I'm liking the confidence a lot.
It should be a fun one in New Orleans, that's for sure. After this short 4-minute break, we'll be back with all this NBA trade deadline madness. You're listening to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7. Watch us on Twitch at qsportstalk.com.
The 3.
I gotta be honest. I'm
not the hot takes, man.
Hot takes, dude. A double-digit win? I hope so. That would be great if it's like 55-23, like
First
we saw.
off, the only way
48-17.
The Bucks won 31-9. Kansas City can be beat by double digits in the Super Bowl.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a different Kansas. We're talking about different teams there. I got to say, if I had to sit through this Eagles conversation with you for more than an hour, I'd probably have a Chiefs jersey on the way from Fanatics. Now, they'd send me the wrong jersey. I'd have to order 2 or 3 more, probably end up going to a store, too.
Why would they send you the wrong jersey?
That's what they do. They're Fanatics.
So we do have a comment here from Steve from North Syracuse. He said both Mahomes' starting tackles in the Tampa Bay game were injured. So he's saying that was a reason why the Tampa Bay defensive line got to Mahomes. I guess that's not the case this time around. Which he does have a pretty good offensive line. So
I wouldn't say that with his tackles. I mean, let's not forget, this is a team that was making moves on the offensive line pretty late in the season. I mean, the starting left tackle for this roster. I mean, I know they got Joe Thuney listed here on the depth chart for ESPN. He's a guard. He's fine. He's a guard. Jawan Taylor and that other kid they got in the second round, Kingsley Sumatea? I want to say that's what it is.
Kingsley Sumatea.
I could be getting it wrong, but
I was trying to look up this.
Suamatea.
What'd you say?
Suamatea.
I said Sumatea.
Yeah, but you're like Sumatea.
Well, yeah, I didn't have the accent down, if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, I was trying to look up the stats to this game. Here we go. I was trying to look up the stats in this game to the Eagles-Rams, and I couldn't get to it while we were talking because I wanted to. Yeah, so the Rams got to him 7 times. But
how many times did the Eagles get to Stafford?
5. But that's the other.
And forced 2 fumbles.
That's true. Eagles did not turn the ball over in this game, which was key, and that was in the snowy elements too.
And I don't think they turned it over in the Commanders game either.
No, they haven't turned the ball over at all in the playoffs. That's what I was saying.
I think the snow is actually probably a point in the Eagles' favor because, it's going to be easier when, it's harder to throw, obviously, to get after the passer. And, that Rams pass rush, they weren't great in the regular season, but there's no doubt they have talent.
Yeah.
Verse is a gamer.
But that's what I'm saying. They allowed 7 sacks in that game against the Rams in the snow. But then when you look at, say, their game against the Commanders, they only allowed 2 sacks. Again, they were running the ball very well. They had 7 rushing touchdowns. That's a record in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure. And Eagles, in their first matchup against the Packers, they only allowed 2 sacks there. So I think, the elements in terms of the pass protection have been a factor. And the game's in New Orleans, it's not going to snow. So I think in that regard, it works out in the Eagles' favor. But chat, what do we think about the Super Bowl real quick?
By the way,
some more chats here.
Last time Hurts played at the Superdome, and was this season, did get sacked 4 times against the Saints, but I do think the fact it's indoors, it's just huge difference.
Yeah, the Saints defense was not bad. Their offense was atrocious, though.
That's why I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I really do think that. A lot of people think it's not going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper DeJean is.
I mean, there was a total of 73 points in the first matchup, so I wouldn't be surprised if we get close to that number again, especially in the warm climate of the Superdome. So we'll see.
Give me Cooper DeJean. Give me Philly. Unless Cedric keeps talking him up, then I might have to buy a Chiefs jersey.
One of my someone I went to high school with is actually engaged to Reed Blankenship. So
there you go.
Yeah, I've been seeing the pictures on the field and everything. Pretty interesting.
Favorite ESPN Syracuse sports talk shows on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today, broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7 and on QSportsTalk.com. This trade, and you know the trade I'm talking about, this will be one of those trades where you're going to ask yourself in 20 years, where were you when that trade broke? And I'll tell you where I was. I'm a boxing fan, so I was watching the big pay-per-view fight between David Benavidez and David Morrell. That fight had just ended at the Dave & Buster's when the news broke that Luka Doncic got traded to the LA Lakers for Anthony Davis. Now, I thought Shams Charania, for all, with all due respect to him, I thought he got hacked. I don't think anybody believed that trade was real. Not until Stephen A. Smith went on SportsCenter and started talking about it 30 minutes later.
Yeah.
Teddy, where were you when the trade happened?
Oh, my gosh. I don't know why I don't remember.
Do you need a second?
Go ahead. Yeah.
All right. Well, first off, I just want to mention how you slid in the fact that you were at a Dave & Buster's there, real casual, like we wouldn't notice.
and best place to watch the fights, man. You don't got to pay that pay-per-view.
I got a lot of
big screens.
Yes, but
good food.
We're not sponsored by Dave & Buster's, by the way.
There's a lot of jokes. I can't go down that rabbit hole right now. We'll do it at the break. But look, I remember where I was because I was at Kitty Hoynes, downtown in Syracuse. I wasn't at Dave & Buster's playing video games and watching the fight in between. But this is what I'll tell you. The reaction there was just as shocked. You went anywhere in Syracuse and anywhere in the country, and the reactions were just... It's indescribable. This is the most colossal mistake probably in the history of the modern NBA. And I'm just glad that my New York Knicks aren't the ones that made it.
Well, we'll have to see how it plays out. I mean, Nico Harrison, he's taking, obviously a lot of criticism for this decision. How do you trade a generational player like Luka Doncic, a top 3 player in the NBA who puts up 30 and 10 on any given night? Granted, he thinks that getting the pieces, Anthony Davis, he thinks that makes this team a win-now team, and he didn't think he could win with Luka. How insane is that?
Yeah, after they just got to the NBA Finals, you think that they're going to build around their 25-year-old star who I would argue is right now in his prime. At 25, just coming off NBA Finals appearance, right? I'm seeing something right now. He's 6th all-time in most points at age 25 or younger, and the 5 guys above him are all in the Hall of Fame. So, he was averaging 31.5 points a game over the last 3 years and 28, 8-8 before the injury. To trade him away is just, I agree, a colossal mistake.
But what if you can get a 31-year-old power forward in Anthony Davis, who, all due respect to him, is, I don't want to say breaking down, but he's never been that durable. Let's just be honest about it. When you're that elite of an athlete,
that's
those guys,
my concern as well with the move.
I mean, look, this trade almost, it's such a colossal mistake that I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. And you see all the stuff coming out about Luka after the fact. I know they discussed it yesterday, and I think I think they discussed it today prior to on Newhouse Afternoons about all the reports coming out of Dallas, all the coaches, all the trainers that were just being, run out of town while they were trying to change Luka's habits.
They were holding a funeral for Luka Doncic in Dallas. People were walking around with a coffin and throwing flowers on it.
Yeah, and a lot of fans have been asking for refunds for their season tickets too because Luka's not there anymore, which I don't know if they're being granted, but
I think they are being granted. Who else saw Luka Doncic at the LA press conference yesterday looking like he was about to cry throughout the whole
yeah.
the whole
He
thing?
says he's excited to be there, but I think a little bit of him died when that little bit of his soul.
I don't know. I know
think
a fake
a little
smile.
bit of
I know a fake smile.
I think a little bit of his soul left his body when he found out he was being traded. He just bought a home in Dallas too. That's crazy.
And I know that even if a bit of his soul didn't die, a large portion of Mark Cuban's did.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw the clip that was going viral.
Yeah.
If I have to choose between Luke and my wife, I'm filing for divorce now.
Yeah,
that's an out-of-pocket thing to say.
That's very out of pocket.
But this is the thing.
Mm-hmm.
LeBron James will now play until he's 45 because the amount of pressure on him now is so much lower. He has always been the best player on his team. Now, there are some people out there, we're going to call them Lakers truthers in this case, though it's happened with all different fan bases of teams that LeBron's been on, where they're like, well, he really wasn't the best player on this team. Oh, well, he wasn't really. No, he was the best player on all those teams. He made it to NBA championship after NBA championship, couldn't get over the hump all the time, but it wasn't because of him. It was because of the talent around him. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something that gets that people don't want to hear, but it's true. He gets to be the second best player on this team. You have a lot of good forward depth around him. You got to get a center, but you got a lot of good forward depth. You got Hashimura, Dorian Finney-Smith. I can just throw names at you. But at the end of the day, Boston should be worried. New York should be worried because the Lakers were able to go toe-to-toe with all these teams. Even if they weren't going to win, they'd give them a hard time with Anthony Davis. Now you got Luka Doncic. That's a different beast.
I don't know if the vision is to win now, though. They got Luka for their future.
That's true. Which, I mean, that's the weird thing about it is, I personally think that LeBron and Luka's play styles are too similar for them to be on the court at the same time. I mean, I think it's going to work out, but still, and I think it is a long-term trade. They were even possibly some people were chattering about LeBron possibly being traded because they got Luka, which I don't think is going to happen. They're probably going to have him there too.
LeBron to be a developmental type of guy for Luka, which Luka doesn't really need to be developed. He's already putting 30 and 10.
But just mentorship and also the whatever the conditioning regimen LeBron is on, because he's playing he's 28 at 40, and so in terms of he can play like you said for 5 more years. So I think in that respect, but just to kind of pivot a little bit, because there's some other trades, and another trade talk is now the Mavs. They're like, okay, we got Anthony Davis, we got Kyrie Irving still, Klay Thompson. What if we pair him up
with Gafford and Lively as well?
That's true.
I can see the vision. AD can truly play the 4.
Yeah, but the thing is they're like, oh, let's try to see if we could bring in another big star now who's on the block. And there were some rumors about Kevin Durant, which there's been a lot of rumors about Kevin Durant leaving the Suns, possibly doing a second stint with the Warriors. But I'm reading something right now that he actually may not want to be traded, that he actually may not want to return for a second stint. It seems like he just wants to stay where he is, and maybe that he has that leverage.
When you've got the talent, Devin Booker and Bradley Beal around you, you're always going to have a chance just from the sheer amount of points those 3 guys will put up on any given night.
Well, like you said, Devin Booker and Devin Booker. I don't think the Bradley Beal situation. I think everybody knows what's going on there. It's unfortunate for him that it hasn't worked out, but what did they expect? They have 2 shooting guards on the roster, neither of whom are particularly great defenders. No disrespect intended to either of them. They're not. And that's a former Florida Gator and Bradley Beal. So, personally, I hate saying it, but that roster as it stands is not constructed to win now. Mm-hmm. And their future gets dimmer every day. If they can get a lot for Durant, they should move him. And any rumor that a player does or doesn't want to move, I don't really believe it anymore. Because you know what? We didn't think Luka would move. I mean, Bucks fans have been complaining about Chris Middleton, but I didn't believe they were going to move him this year. Certainly not for Kuzma.
Kuzminga.
I put Kuminga together because Kuminga's been linked to the Warriors. We'll ignore that, but we won't brush under the rug like Cedric going to Dave & Buster's. And You also got De'Aaron Fox to San Antonio. So
Well, first off, it's not a bad place to watch a fight. Okay.
We'll get to the Dave and Buster's talk.
We'll get to the
later.
Dave and Buster's later. But you know what? The big
You're
news
25,
today.
Cedric.
The big news today is that the Wizards get Chris Middleton and the Bucks get Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin, and a 2025 second-round selection. Okay, so this is obviously a win-now move. Giannis approves of it. Does this make the Bucks more of a contenders in the East?
I mean, Chris Middleton is definitely a scorer, but he is getting a little older, and again, his availability is the question. I mean, he was out for most of the season, so Kyle Kuzma, I don't think is much more of an exceptional talent. I personally thought that the Bucks would want to go after a bigger star at that position, say like a Jimmy Butler. Of course, we've been talking about how, or even seeing how Jimmy Butler has been wanting to go to the Suns, but just because of what you said, Jack, that doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Bradley Beal has a no-trade clause in his contract, and he wants to stay put, so that's not going to happen. And even the Warriors, who are in the sweepstakes for Butler, doesn't seem like that's going to happen either. So you would think that a place like the Bucks would be a favorable destination for Jimmy Butler, but when you make a move like that for Kyle Kuzma, you kind of wonder if that could happen. I don't see that happening. No. Does it get the Bucks there? I don't know. Do you guys think that they were good enough with Middleton already? Or do you think they needed to get somebody like a Jimmy Butler?
Are you going to take this or am I?
Well, look, first off, I think that they were too reliant on Giannis and Lillard. You know, for those guys to win on any given night, they have to combine for 60. Look at the games this season that they've won when they've combined for less than 50 points. It's not a pretty record. And, that's not a formula that will translate well to the playoffs. So do I think Kuzma provides that extra scoring boost? Yes. Do I think it puts them over the top, over the Cavs or the Knicks or the Celtics? Personally, I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, it's worth mentioning, Kuzma's three-point shooting is down this year, 28%, which isn't great, but it's been down in Washington the entire time, probably because he gets more attention there. At its highest, it was 36% with the Lakers. I think that's the year they won the championship. But here's what it really comes down to. The Bucks weren't contenders before this. They're not contenders now. And they won't be contenders 2 years from now. And at some point, this will end with Giannis elsewhere and Damian Lillard in the twilight of his career, probably playing somewhere else, maybe even, the way Gary Payton ended his career, ring chasing.
And the madness about all this deadline stuff is that we've still got more than 24 hours to go. And we're not even sure what's coming up next. I mean, look at the Spurs and the Kings.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about that trade? De'Aaron Fox of the Spurs, Kings acquire Zach LaVine.
Yeah.
And the Bulls acquire Zach Collins, Trey Jones, Kevin Huerter, and a 2025 pick that San Antonio held. I'm brushing over some of the other picks and stuff here, but there's a lot.
Yeah, really quickly I'll share. I think this is a big win for the Spurs. I mean, the Spurs have assets that they can use to even get more.
And they didn't even have to give up Castle.
Yeah, they didn't have to give up Castle. This is a huge win for them. The Spurs, I was saying at the beginning of the year, could easily be a play-in team. I think that they're definitely a play-in team, and I argue if Fox gels, they could make their way into the top six. So, I think this is a really good move for them personally.
CP3, Vassell, Wemby,
Johnson.
That's scary.
Yeah.
Scary hours in San Antonio.
Yes, absolutely.
Quick
thought, Jack. What do you think?
Quick thought. Oh, boy, that's going to be tough for me. But look, I think that pick they ended up sending back to Sacramento came over in the Harrison Barnes cap dump when they got DeRozan. I think San Antonio, this is a slam dunk. They have so much talent on that roster. I just said Milwaukee won't be competing in 2 years. San Antonio, they're definitely competing in 2 years. They might compete this year, like you said. And this is the other thing. They have so many assets left. This is a really exciting team. I really, really can't wait to see what they're going to do. And if you're a Sacramento Kings fan, I'm sorry. That's not good at all. You want to be the Chicago Bulls West. The Bulls broke it up for a reason. But sure, let's see DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine together.
You're listening to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7. Watch us on Twitch at QSportsTalk.com. After this short 4-minute break, we'll be back with the latest on Syracuse lacrosse.
Today, the Orange.
Cool. Yeah, we're probably going to have if we have a 4-minute break, we're gonna have like.
Dude, I can't hear it again. I couldn't hear anything. I couldn't hear when to come in to come out.
Yeah, that's
2
why I
minutes,
was
you
giving
said?
you the thumbs up.
Yeah, how late was I on that? Because I'm like, I don't hear anything, and you guys look like you're ready to go.
Yeah.
I honestly just figured it was user error.
Wow.
We're only on Twitch. How many viewers we got right now?
We got 21 viewers, dude.
We gotta defend Dave and Buster's a little bit
And all
on the
20
Twitch
and
here,
all 21 of
because-
those people know how much we love and cherish Cedric Duretto,
Jack,
despite the Eagles jersey he's wearing.
I don't know.
Hey,
what,
I'm in
what you were
favor of the
thinking,
Eagles
but it's not
jersey.
Chuck E. Cheese, you know. It's not like a
It's
place for
close
kids.
enough.
No, it's not. I would say 90% of the people there were older than me. There was very few kids there, maybe 3 or 4 kids, and 100 adults in their 30s, 40s, 50s, grabbing a beer. It's like Buffalo Wild Wings to me.
Sounds like a sad place. but
It's the
that's
crossover
besides the
between
point.
B-dubs and Chuck E. Cheese.
It's the crossover nobody asked for.
It's a good mix, man.
What's your guys' thoughts on Dave and Buster's?
Type in the chat.
Yeah, put it in the chat.
And while
It
we
ain't
wait,
bad for UFC and boxing, though. Better than paying the pay-per-view.
Oh, definitely.
there's so many things better than paying the pay-per-view. But while we're waiting on the Dave and Buster's answer, should we?
Cedric can't just admit on the air Matt screams and screaming and stuff. He's got to say Dave and Buster's.
No, he was at
Exactly.
Dave and Buster's.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, it's
Absolutely.
the
Stream East
Jordan.
too.
The.
The Stream East.
Oh my God. I mean, by the way,
Good thing that wasn't over the terrestrial airwaves.
yeah, it wasn't over the terrestrial radio. It was just the Twitch. We're gonna call it terrestrial radio. But
Yeah.
while we wait on Dave and Buster's answers, I mean, we were talking about it yesterday. Maybe the Spurs go and make a move for Giannis now. They got a lot of assets.
Okay, hot take here. I was talking to, I think you guys about it yesterday.
Yes,
actually.
yes. This was a
This
Okay,
conversation.
hot
NBA
take for the
friends of
fans. Hot
mine's-
take for the fans here. If the Bucks don't do anything major in the next 2 or 3 years with the squad they got,
They won't.
I could easily see Giannis making a jump over to the West Coast, joining the Oklahoma City Thunder. Okay,
Well, the
they
Pelicans just traded Tice to the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's
Who'd they
within this
trade?
hour. Daniel Tice.
did they send
all right.
Harkenstein over or no?
No, they're just sending.
No, they're sending Tice over and draft compensation to the OKC. The OKC just got more picks.
They must have sent something back then.
So, but that's the whole point. Like, they got so much ammo to go get Giannis. They have, what'd you say, 13
Well, the
first
Thunder
round
can get
picks in the
Giannis
next.
too.
No, that's what I'm talking about. The Thunder.
could.
That's what I'm talking about. The Thunder. They have.
Thunder or the Spurs can pull it off. They really don't have
Giannis
enough
and
assets.
But that's it. Yeah, that would be scary. Oh my
It would
gosh,
be
yeah.
funny.
But also Giannis and Chet. Like that's.
No, it's not the same as Wemby.
That's true. It is.
No,
not the
I mean,
same.
I'm thinking of the defense. I'm thinking about defense. That's what basketball fans want. That's why ratings are down. It's not Stream East. It's not super teams.
Wait, Jordan, are you able to get? Do you know what's going on with my headset? I can't hear the feed or anything on here.
When did it start?
I don't. It was just during that last break. I couldn't hear the cue or anything to come back on.
To be honest, I have no clue why it would happen in the middle of the show. If it was working fine before the show, then it's nothing we did. If it's just your headset.
Okay. Yeah, I think it was having some problems last week too. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just that one though. Like.
We can let Neil know again, but I think he did something with the cord.
Vermont is next. Yeah.
Yeah.
Scroll down so I can take a look.
We've been good for a couple of days.
You're not my boss. I'm scrolling up.
We're back in third.
Yeah, you heard me.
Yeah. I'll let you know if I can't hear it. If I can't hear it, I'm gonna need you to, like, tap me or something.
Okay. Yeah. I'll do this.
You hear me there, Cedric?
Yeah, I heard
Oh,
you.
you can-
But I couldn't hear the feed. I couldn't hear the feed of like Newhouse Afternoon.
Yeah.
Teddy.
I'll just like kick you really hard.
Now let's see how long it takes him to figure it out. We can just stare intently into
I
his eyes.
guess the fans didn't like our.
Never mind, I'm good.
Watch
I'm good. I
live
hear.
on QSportsTalk.com. Tomorrow's broadcasting stars today. Broadcasting live from the campus of Syracuse University. This is Newhouse Afternoon.
Welcome back to Newhouse Afternoon on ESPN 97.7 and on QSportsTalk.com. Cedric Duretto alongside Teddy Caputo and Jack Ziskin. Real quick, guys, the latest on Syracuse lacrosse. Big game upcoming against Vermont.
Oh yeah, a big game. the first game that we just saw against Jacksonville, they looked extremely impressive. They have a really fast team, a really aggressive team. They scored, I believe, most of their goals like really early in the shot clock. They're very aggressive. And, you know, Michael Leo, who won some honors this week, 3 goals in 2 minutes. He got a hat trick within the span of 2 minutes in the second quarter. Like, this is a really exciting SU men's lacrosse team who's ranked number 2 in the country currently.
Yeah, you got the natural Hattie from Leo. I mean, it took them actually a while for Spleen to even get going, and you didn't even notice it.
Yeah.
Think about that for a second.
Yeah, that's really true. Very true. What are your thoughts on the lacrosse team, quick, Cedric?
You know what? I think that this is a game that was against a very capable Jacksonville team, and Syracuse went out and absolutely dominated. They look truly like a team that is top 3 in the country. You know, they're ranked number 2 right now. I think this is a team that's as equipped as ever to make a run in the NCAA tournament. I think this is a team that can win it all, and I think Syracuse fans should be very, very excited for the season ahead.
Yeah, they had 12 guys score in that 24-goal performance. They are going to have a hard road, though, because they face number 1 Notre Dame, number 3 Cornell, number 4 Maryland, number 5 Virginia, number 7 Duke, number 8 Johns Hopkins, 16 ends North Carolina, 17 Towson, 18 Utah, 20 Harvard. That's going to be a tough schedule, but it's going to be very exciting.
A gauntlet of a schedule ahead. Well, as Jack says, bring it on. Thank you guys for listening to Newhouse Afternoon. Next up, Sports Show with Cody Mack.
This is Orange